Uh, Today's session is part of a series in our career guidance program that is headed by Dr. Tushara. We will have 2 other sessions focusing on working within the industry as well as survival tips and skills in the working place, which will be held in the coming weeks. But today's Katha session, which is specially geared towards our final year students ready to focus on their postgraduate studies, will have a special guest to talk you through your questions. To help with this endeavor, we have a familiar face, Ms. Malsha Samarasiri. She is currently a second-year PhD student at the School of Chemical and Biomedical Engineering at Nanyang Technological University in Singapore. Her PhD research is focused on the characterization of non-volatile taste components of mushroom and mycelium grown on okra for their potential as meat alternatives, which covers her broad research interests from protein alternatives to future food processing, organic agriculture, fermentation technology, and sustainable food manufacturing, as well as food waste management. She is also the Vice President, Public Relations of Nanyang Scholars Toastmasters Club and a voluntary member of TEDx NTU. She also works as a mentor in Scholar X 2022 program, helping Sri Lankan students achieve their higher studies potential. And so, without a doubt, she is one of the best people to help clarify your doubts about higher studies. So I warmly welcome Ms. Malsha to share with us her knowledge.
Thank you, Sajani, for a warm welcome. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So thank you, Tushara sir and DCP for inviting me and arranging this event. So let me share my screen.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So very good evening to all of you. I'm warmly welcome to this event. I hope you will get something out of this session and hope you will find your dream. So I think most of you already know me. I'm Malsha, a second year PhD student at NTU. So I think this introduction is not needed since Sajani is already, she already explained. So basically I'm going to discuss 15 minutes of time about the general process of applying for PhD studies. After that, we will go through a Q&A session. So you can ask in that Q&A session also, and later time if you need some support, I'm glad to be a help. So anytime you can contact me in the future, you can WhatsApp me or you can email me. So we will start the session now. So postgraduate studies can be categorized into 3: post-PG diploma, master's, and PhD. I'm not much into PG diploma, so I don't have much experience or knowledge on this, but I have seen some people are going for that. But I think students from University of Moratuwa are capable enough to go for a master's or PhD in a foreign university. So I think you should and you can try for master's and PhD. So masters can be categorized into 2. One is by research and the other one is by coursework. Here by research, it is also known as thesis-based MSc. Here, the major component is a research project, but you have to do some courses. Here courses means doing some subjects and examinations, but the main component is research. But in the coursework MSc, the major component is courses. So you have to face examinations and you have to do some assignments. So there the focus is not a research. Some students have the preference to do a research work, but some don't have such. So you have to decide it by yourself, depending on your future goals and your preferences. But the PhD is a full-time research. So here I also had to take 6 courses, altogether 18 credits courses. But the major component is actually my research project. So first you have to identify what you are going to do. This is the basic overview of the steps I carried out, but it can be changed depending on your program, your university, and the other things. This is the order of steps I followed, but it's not the exact process for everyone, exact order for everyone. So you have to decide it by yourself, but you can also follow the same order of steps. Remember, some steps can be conducted in a parallel way, because with my case, I have experienced some work should be conducted in parallel way. So remember, it depends on your work and your availability of time. The first thing I did was I selected the path, which should I do, job or the higher studies. I even remember that once I discussed with Dr. Tushara about what should I do, because I had some confusions whether I should do the PG studies just after my examination or just after graduation, or I should do some industrial work or do some professional work before starting my PG studies. So for that, you should consider your future goals and select what should you do first. Then the program. I had the goal of being in the academic sector in future, and my preference is with the research work. So I don't have any other options. So I focused only with MSc by research and the PhD. But some students and some friends of mine, they don't like to do a PhD. So for that, they usually selected master as a path to migrate to another country. So it depends on you. First select what is the program you are going to apply. Then the second thing I did was making my research publications, because at that time I heard from DCPE lecturers, I should at least have some publication to enroll in a good university. So try to at least publish an abstract in that stage. So it will take some time, but remember, at least you should write something and try to publish. It's better if you can publish a full paper, but even an abstract would be okay. But it depends on the university and the professor. Remember that if you have many publications, it's a bonus point. But sometimes even with some of my friends, even without any publication, they were fortunate to get into some university. But it depends on your qualification, the other qualification, and the impressions you made with the professor. The third thing I did, I think it was just after my first publication. I tried to find some good universities and try to check their university website and what are the requirements, because I was new to the process at that time. I heard few things at that time from DCP lecturers, seniors, and some of my batchmates. But I needed to have some big picture of this process. So I just did a self-study and found what should I have. So the fourth step is obtaining transcript and degree certificate. It depends on the time you are going to apply. In my case, I got it after, I think degree certificate, I got it after 9 or 10 months, as I remember. So it depends on at which time you are going to apply and which semester you are going to enroll in. So it can be at the beginning of this process or in the middle of this process, because they are actually needed in the when you are submitting the application. So remember to have them. If you don't have, then you have to inform your future university that you don't have them now, but you will have them in the future. So you can get some extension from them. but it depends on the university, but usually universities are giving such extension, and also you can get some letter from the examination department that you have completed the course requirements, or you have this much of GPA. So you can get such letters and also submitted to the future university. The next step I did was the making my academic CV. I usually recommend students to attach it to your first email to the professor, because academic CV is very useful to assess you. And even though you have mentioned some of your things or your qualification in the first email, some professors like to go through your CV rather than reading the email. So better to attach that CV. And also I recommend you to make a good LinkedIn profile, because even my professor, before I sent a request, he sent me a request and he connected through that. So some professors are checking with that. Even recently, one of Sri Lankan student she has written to my professor after knowing through me. Then she told that she got that update that my professor has seen her profile, LinkedIn profile. So some professors has such interest to look into your LinkedIn profile. So do that also. And the next step is you have to do some examinations. Some universities, not some, most of the universities are looking your IELTS score. IELTS is, I think most of you have already known that, but IELTS or TOEFL, they are English examinations. So you have to attend them, and you have to have minimum scores for IELTS or TOEFL. Remember, IELTS is from the British system, TOEFL is from the American system. You can do any of that, but I recommend to do IELTS because it is mostly valid for any university in the world. But some American universities, they prefer if you have TOEFL, but even in their website, I have seen that they accept IELTS score. So I did IELTS, but both have similar components in their examinations. So you can choose that according to your plans. And the GRE is not mandatory for many universities in the world, but in Singapore and USA universities and some reputed universities in Europe, they are requesting your GRE score. So it depends on the university, but most of the people are not doing GRE because many people are going to countries like Canada, Europe, Japan, China. So I think, and I have already seen that these universities are not usually requesting GRE score. So remember, the preparation time for this examination will be high or low depending on your abilities. So you have to have some time to do these examinations, because some of my friends thought that they don't have enough time to do these examinations and their dreams were a bit delayed due to that. So remember to have some enough time for that. And the next thing I did was even before preparing to IELTS, I have started to write to professors. In the middle of preparation also, I have written to professors. So you can do both parallelly, but it depends on your semester and their deadlines. So this is a very important step, because your future will be based on your supervisor. So try to find my recommendation is try to find a professor who has the similar interest. Some people don't have any restrictions or preferences in research fields. If that is the case, then you can write to any professor or any lecturer in that particular department in the university, future university. Some of my friends did like that, but usually I recommend people to go through the profiles of professors. Then you know about the professor, then you can get to know what that professor is doing currently and what is his background. So you can do some search and you can find whether you have the similar interest with him. So that is the thing you have to do, find them, and then you have to write a good email to them. Some professors are not replying. That is a normal case for anyone who is applying for a PG studies. But you will also get some reasonable number of responses if you are going to write a good email. So remember to write a good first email, because you have to make a good first impression with your future supervisor. After that, if the professor has some interest to get you as a student, then usually they are telling that, okay, now we are going to have some interview and I will assess you. Without interview, usually many professors are not doing that. Usually they will have an interview if they have some idea of getting you into their team. So in my cases, I had about 7 interviews from 7 professors. So for 2 professors, I didn't have. So actually these professors, even at the beginning, I was not sure about these processes. The same thing happened. So I think if you get any chance to face some interview, then you're getting accepted into that university or scholarship, will be a good point. So remember, you will have to face some interviews. It's a bit like job interviews. So you just have to be confident and communicate well with the professor about your achievements, your goals, these things. After that, if professor likes to get you into his group, then he will tell, okay, now you can submit the application. It is usually, the application process is usually by online, but sometimes you have to submit some hard copies of documents like transcript or degree certificate. But it depends on your university requirements. But at the beginning, usually you have to submit the online application. For that, you may need to submit a SOP. SOP is known as Statement of Purpose, and the research proposals and recommendations from our DCP lecturers. Getting recommendation is also some problem for some students, not our DCP students, but students from other universities. I have heard it. But in the DCP, many lecturers provided recommendation to me, and it was very easy, and I was able to have good recommendation from them. So you can ask from our lecturers and you can get it. Final thing is facing scholarship committee interviews. It is usually not common in many universities, but if you are getting a scholarship from the university or some kind of institute, not the university, some other government body, then sometimes you may have to face such interviews. It may be a complex thing or it may be an easier one, like interviews with professors. I only faced one such interview. Actually, it was from NTU. But for other cases, I only had interviews with professors because these scholarships were directly from professor. So these are the 10 steps I followed. I think you got some basic idea. So this is what I already told. You have to have at least abstract. It would be an added benefit if you have a research paper, full research paper. So I recommend students, at least your paper or abstract should be at the stage of writing. So then you can tell your supervisor that I am at this stage, I'm going to submit this. Then they will have some impression that you are on the track. Otherwise you can't prove that you have the ability to do some research. So at least try to start writing your paper or abstract. And it would be a bonus point if your paper or abstract is already published. So country and university selection, it depends on the person, but in my case, I mainly considered few things. For the university and program, because I mainly focused on the education system, I needed a good option. So I considered the university, the ranking of the university, the program, and the professor. That is the first thing I considered. And the other thing is I considered some future opportunities and whether I can have PRO, I can settle there. And also the other important thing which was the reason for selecting NTU was that direct PhD option in NTU. It is not available in the some other universities or some other countries, but it depends on the person. Some people, not only the person, but your priorities. My priority was in the education, so I prioritize countries and the universities with the good education for my field. For that, the other thing is direct PhD option in Singapore. If you are going to have a direct PhD, then time will be 4 years. But if you are going to do your studies in USA, Canada, most European countries, China, Japan, and also in Korea, usually you have to have a MSc. So first professors will tell, okay, do a MSc first, then I will offer you the PhD. So you have, usually it will take at least 6 years, but some people finish it within 5 years without getting MSc. So first they have to enroll in MSc. Then at the middle of the time, then professor said, okay, now your research work is done. So now you can transfer your MSc into PhD. So without getting that master's degree, then you can directly convert it to the PhD even in Canada. My professor, my Canadian professor told that. So in that case, you can complete within 5 years, but it depends on the person's ability to do the research. But for the countries with the direct PhD option, usually the scholarship is given for 4 years. For me also, I have to complete my PhD within 4 years. If I don't do that, then I have to stay there without getting any stipend after 4 years. So Singapore, Australia, New Zealand, Hong Kong, UK, Thailand, they are the countries which have that direct PhD options. But remember, for the direct PhD scholarship, they usually give it for the students with first class or second upper. That's the usual case. But for the countries like USA, Canada, these countries, you can do MSc first, then move to a PhD. So these are the scholarships you can consider. I categorize them into 3. Depends on my experience and knowledge, but there may be other types of scholarship also. One is the scholarship directly from the university. I'm under NTU Research Scholarship. So my university is providing, not the professor. So university and the Ministry of Education is providing that. In Hong Kong also, they have a scholarship like that. And also in Australian universities, usually university and the Ministry of Education are involving for giving that scholarship, the common scholarship. Even in Singapore, there are other scholarships like Singa Scholarship. It is offered by A-STAR. A-STAR means there is a agency for science, technology, and research. So they are providing that. So it's not directly from the university. It is from a government body. So here you can see in the below scholarship from government, external body, and corporate bodies. So you have to find such scholarships because you may have the chance, and their stipend rate will be also higher than some other scholarships. So you have to find them, such as Australian Award Scholarship, Erasmus Scholarship, Commonwealth, Schlumberger. Schlumberger is actually for women, and DAD Scholarship. The other thing is, in some countries like USA and Canada, usual way is the stipend payment from professor. So it is like you are making some bond with your future supervisor. So you have to sign an agreement. I also signed one with my Canadian professor. So it is not directly from this university, because professor has some funds from industry or from government or from university, and then the professor is paying us. So in that case, one benefit is that if the professor likes to take you in, even though you don't have a first class or second upper, then you can be in that lab group. But if you are trying for a scholarship directly from university or a government body, then they may have some strict regulations. So if you don't have enough qualification, sometimes your chance will be low in those cases. But in that stipend payment from professor, in that case, if you already make some good impression with him and he's willing to take you in, then you don't have any issue. You can have that. So that is the other thing you should consider. And if you are going to try for a stipend payment from professor, in that case, you should make a good relationship with the professor. Remember that. The other thing is you have to find the requirements for your future program. So remember, you have to go through the website. No one is going to do that. And some people are doing it through the agent, but I don't recommend, because you have that talent, you can do that. Even though we are not familiar this thing during our bachelor's, you can do it by yourself. You have to spend some time for this and go through the university website and find all the requirements. You can collect the information and you can maintain an Excel sheet for your prospective universities. So find all the details and the requirements they are asking. The other important thing is you should consider the deadline. It is very important because you should decide which semester you are going to be enrolled. That is a very important thing, and I did it at even in the beginning, because otherwise, if you don't have any plans, then you will miss your semester. So you should have that. But unfortunately, even though I planned, I was delayed by one semester. It was not my fault. At that time, we had COVID and the things were volatile. But in your case, now things are normal and you can apply without any trouble. So for the intakes, remember, usually they have, most of the universities have two intakes, fall and winter. Fall intake is the main one. So your chances will be high in fall, but even in the winter intake, it's not like that you don't have any option. You have opportunities, but in fall, they are usually getting more students. So for the fall intake, country-wise, the deadlines may be different. As an example, in NTU, if you are going to enroll in September intake, that means the fall intake, you have to apply by October 1st. If you are going to enroll in January, then you have to submit by July. That means if I'm going to start in next year, January, then I have to submit my application this year, July 31st. So remember, these dates are very important. So other thing is, as I mentioned, write a good email. If you need some support, I can give you some feedback to your email. So you can send me your email and then I can correct them and give some feedback. some students from other universities, they are usually sending me, and then I help for that. So remember, the first sentence or the first paragraph, it is very important. For my NTU professor, the first sentence, it was very helpful because I mentioned about Sachindra Kap from DCPE. She was a former student in my professor's team. So I mentioned about her, and that's why he has seen that, and then that's why he has gone through, because they usually get many emails per day. So sometimes they will miss them. You have to remind them, and you have to have a good first email. The first sentence and the first paragraph is really important. The second thing is you have to be specific about your email. Don't send the same email to every professor, because some professors will think like that. He or she is sending me the common email. So even that student is not looking into my work, or he or she doesn't have any idea about me. So why I should care about that? Some professors are thinking like that. I got to know them from some website and some forums. So you have to be specific. Even though you are not specific, sometimes you will get some replies from professors. But for the safe side, you should have to be specific. So you can write things about your future professor and why you like him, what are the things or what are the projects you like from his work, and why you are considering that particular program and the university. And the final thing is, some content can be general, like your qualification, your research work. So some paragraphs are common to every email. So after a positive response from professor, you may have to face an interview. So that's all I'm going to discuss you today. So this is kind of a brief session. If you need detailed information, you can go through my blog. And also there is a detailed session I conducted for general public in last year. You can also watch it because it has all the things. So now you can ask me if you have any confusions. Hope you got something out of this discussion. You can send your question to the Zoom chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask me.
First of all, Malsha, can you hear me, Malsha?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Thank you very much for the comprehensive presentation. I feel sorry for the people who didn't participate, but I will share the recording with them because this.
No, it's okay, sir.
Yeah. And the audience is healthy. Like we can't afford more than this for the discussion, because the thing is like I'm really thankful for you because I know that you are investing a lot of time on this to prepare well, and this is a really comprehensive presentation. May I ask a question before students? Okay.
Sure, sir. I'm glad to hear.
Yeah, you said that it is better to have a focus when you are applying it.
Yes, sir.
So, is it I mean, for a very bright student, it may be a very good option. But if someone keep it open, as example, if someone say that, oh, if I get opportunity in energy, I'll go to there. If I got an opportunity in environmental, I will go. Like, is it better to have such strategy for average student?
Yes, sir. That's a good question, and your point is right. Because for some students, I usually recommend, if you don't have enough qualifications, then you have to try more. So then sometimes you can't be restricted on, I'm going to this university and I'm going to be under this professor. So in that case, you have to find more options. So in that case, sometimes if the student doesn't get the opportunity under his or her preferred supervisor, but he or she may have some opportunity from the other professor. But in the general case, because mostly for the research program, usually the people with the class are going. So that's why I'm recommending that. But for a master by coursework, many people are going. So for that, you don't need to have a supervisor. In that case, you can have a wide range of areas. But if you are going to, if you have some preferences, then go with that. And also if you have enough qualification. But if you don't have enough qualifications and if your chances are low, then as Sir told, you have to consider many options. That's right. And the other thing is, even for a few of my friends, they have a first class degree, but some people don't have any preferred research area when they are graduating. So at that case also, you can try with any field, then you can go easily and early. But for a PhD, not for a MSc, but I think for a PhD, you are going to stay there 4 years. So for that, I think the passion and the preferred area they are something important for your future. So that is my personal opinion.
Yeah,
so
I also agree with you. Yeah, for a PhD, like you have to stay for a long
yes,
year and with the long hours also. Like,
yes, but for a master's students, it is, I think it's okay, because they can then after that, then they can change their area. Yes.
The reason I asked that question is like in engineering, mostly it is supervisor oriented, because supervisor is the one who getting the funding. So his direction, like it's quite challenging to find out our own area. I mean,
yes,
but I agree with you. But like we
yes,
must have some focus, no? Otherwise, it's like
yes, sir. I can actually. I didn't consider one specific kind of a specific topic. I only considered the broader area. Because I considered I'm going to be in the food science and technology.
That is needed.
Yes, because I tried that. I like that if the professor is under the food processing and the food engineering, then I thought it would be better. But even though I tried with the professors in the food safety, food chemistry, and the other things related to food science and technology. So the broader topic is consistent, but the other minor themes and the minor areas are different.
Yeah, I should not disturb the students. No,
it's
program.
okay.
So I'll let them to ask question. There's a question from Ishaq, I think. Please see.
Okay. Yes, there is an international competition. As I felt with my experience at NTU, I felt that we are lacking I think, not the academic qualification, but in the research work, I think we are a bit lacking compared to the Chinese and some other foreign students, because I think they have more practical skills and the research work compared to us. But in terms of facing for the examination and the academic knowledge, I think we are still at the highest level. Even though it is the case, even though we don't have much publications, it is okay actually. It's really okay, because professors usually don't look into whether you have 4 or 5 publications. Usually, most of them are not looking at that, because they are usually looking whether you have some research experience. You can be an independent researcher when you are doing your master's or PhD. So usually they are looking like that. But for some scholarships And some particular programs, there may be a competitions, but it doesn't mean that our Sri Lankan students don't have any chance, because they are very talented and they have opportunities, and they can get that opportunity any place. So you don't have to be worried about that. You can try anything. As I felt, you have that chance. But the thing is that try to get the research exposure when you are an undergraduate. As much as possible you can take, because our staff members and you can get some staff members are supportive for that. And also you can get some advices from your seniors. So try to get maximum when you are in the university.
Okay, one more question.
Yes.
Ishak is, Ishak is done. Thank you. But it's another question, I think. Yeah.
Yes. That I think you are meaning that your preferred area.
He's I think he's losing his academic interest. Like he don't have a focus, I think.
Okay.
Another question is like.
Okay, Isha. I usually tell this to people. If you can do your work when you are an undergraduate, that would be very helpful for your future. If you miss few things when you are an undergraduate during your bachelor's, then sometimes you can't revise them, because for some programs they are requesting you should have this first class or second upper as the minimum requirements. Then you can't revise that if you don't get it. So when you are in the bachelor's, try to do maximum. Then you don't have to be worried in the future, because it doesn't mean that you won't get any opportunity. But if you missed when you are in the bachelor's, then you have to do lots of things after that. You have the one thing is you have to spend lots of money to get into a program, basically a master's by coursework, because you lost your class. Then you got very low opportunities for the other programs. Then you can apply for a master by coursework. But it can be replaced if you do your studies when you are in your bachelor's. So I think for the moment, what you can do is try to get your motivation and get morale, and you can do it. Have that positive mind, and you can complete your studies as much as possible and try to get a higher GPA. Then you don't have to be worried much after your graduation. Otherwise, some of my batchmates, some people send me messages that I didn't have any goal of doing PG studies, but now I'm going to do. But now I'm thinking that if I did better during bachelor's, then I can go easily now. But now I should compensate that loss from other things, like I have to do some research work, or I need to spend money. So there are such people, they are worrying after their bachelor's. It's not one person, but there are many people who told that thing. So I think with that and the countries, the situation in the Sri Lanka, you can be motivated through that.
Yeah, until students start asking question, I will ask another question. You mentioned about publication.
Okay.
Do they care about the ranking of the publication? Oh, I mean, should it be a Q1?
Actually, sir, I had one such experience from University of Sydney. I applied. Professor had interest to take me in, but he didn't have enough funds with him. Then he told me to directly apply for the Sydney University scholarship. Then I applied it. Then at the middle of their processing, they mentioned to fill some form and fill some my research qualification. In that form, they have directly mentioned that I should have a publication with Q1 or Q1 ranking. But I didn't have such. I have a journal publication, but it is not under Q1 or Q2. Only in that case, I have seen that and experienced. But the Canadian professors and the University Melbourne professor and their scholarship and the NTU professors, they didn't care about that. They just checked my publication and they didn't worry about the ranking of the paper. So,
okay.
but one of another Canadian professor told me that since you don't have any publication under Q1 or Q2, not one, he expected at least I should have 2 to 3 publication with Q1, Q2 rankings. Then he told if I don't have then I should do a MSc with him first, then I can do the PhD. Because in that university, Saskatchewan University, they are offering the direct PhD option, not like other Canadian universities. But my professor told that I cannot provide because you don't have such publication from your bachelor's. But if I can get publication, because usually when I'm with him, then I can get it, as he told that for his master students, they can get such publications. After that, I can get a PhD. I can be enrolled into PhD. Only in that cases, yes, only in those cases I experienced that. Other than that, I felt that they are not caring much about publication. But if you have a publication with good ranking, then it is always an added benefit.
Okay. Yeah, Chamudita is waiting for answer. Like he has raised the hand. Yeah, please, Chamudita.
Okay, Chamudita.
Oh yes, thank you, sir. So, Ms. Malsha, can you hear me?
Yes, Chamudita.
Okay, yeah. So my question is about GRE. So
Okay.
in GRE, Ms. Malsha, do we actually have to work? So since I am actually planning to probably move to biology or chemistry related research and like specifically chemical engineering. So I was just wondering whether it would be more advantageous if I do GRE specifically for chemistry or like GRE in general, or whether if I do GRE in chemistry, is GRE in general a requirement as well?
So you are considering USA universities?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. I'm not aware about whether it would be added benefit for you by doing a subject GRE, but I did general GRE because my university has the requirement of general GRE. But in most cases, I have seen that many universities are requesting general GRE from engineering students, but for some science students and some students from psychology, like these areas, then they are requesting subject GRE. But people I have met so far, they only did general GRE. Even one of my friend, he applied for a few USA university. He was a science graduate from Colombo University, but he did the general GRE. Yes, I think he's also in chemistry field. So I'm not sure, because if your university is asking a subject GRE specifically, then you don't have any choice. You have to do that. But to clarify it, you can write to the admission office of the PG studies, and you can ask whether there would be a difference for you, for your application. So it's better to clarify it, because I'm not aware about the benefits from doing subject GRE.
Yeah, got it. Thank you. So I actually have another question. Okay. So it's actually about whether you know any opportunities, like maybe from your experience at NTU, whether there are any internship opportunities for research, like graduate research, or as like internship opportunities before moving to a PhD or master's? Because I'm actually not sure about, like, I think it's a good opportunity where we can explore the field before like directly going.
Yes.
Yeah, I have seen people doing that. Yeah.
Yes. In NTU, I will first talk about my group. In my group, there are some Singaporeans. First, after their graduation, some people are going for the industry, and then they will come to the university. Some people they have directly started their PhD after graduation. Depending on their goals, some people like to stay in the university without starting PhD. Like there are job roles like research assistant, and the other one is project officer. So in my group, I know 2 project officers. One has moved to PhD program before 1 semester I came here. So he was a project officer for 2 to 3 years, and he did some research, and he was very familiar with the lab environment and the equipment and the other instruments. The other one is, there was another project officer. That girl recently transferred into the PhD program. She applied, and now she is a PhD student. But she also had enough experience in many equipment, and sometimes I even ask from her because she's an experienced person. So in that case, it is actually very good, because you can have some basic knowledge and research experience, and then you can do your PhD research work in a better way. But it depends on your timeline and your goals. So that is a added benefit, but not all the people are doing that. Even in my group, there are some students who directly started their PhD just after their graduation. So then they can complete their PhD when they are at 27 or 26 years old, and they are finishing their PhD soon. So you can do that also. Even in Singapore, you have some chances, and I can also recommend to some of professors if you like. And also you can try for other countries like USA, Canada. They are also recruiting interns. But sometimes, since it's kind of a job, sometimes you may have very low opportunities, because they are mainly recruiting the local people. Sometimes there would be, but in computer department in NTU, there are some Sri Lankan boys who are working as a research assistant and research engineers.
Got it.
But not in my department, but in other department, there are people.
Yeah, got it. Thank you very much. So yeah, I have another question, but I'll come back with another.
Yeah,
Okay.
give chance to the Ainkaran and then come
Okay.
back. Chamadita, yeah.
Hello, okay. I
Yes.
think you might have covered this. I think I just joined a bit late, but I just want to clarify, like when writing to professors, like what are the essential documents like to be attached along with the email?
Actually, it may be changed by person to person, but what I did was I attached academic CV and also one PDF of transcript and degree certificate. I merged them and attached as a one PDF. The other thing is, at that time, my publications were not visible online. So I made some PDF with 2 abstracts of my publications. And the other thing is, I attach another PDF. It's not necessary. I made that document with my IELTS certificate and some other good certificates you can show about your academic qualification. So for PDF, I have attached.
So it's like I'm just asking, so is it advisable to like write with an interim result sheet or something like that?
You mean attaching the interim result sheet?
Yeah.
Yes, it's okay, because professors know that sometimes students are applying earlier before their graduation. So it's okay, because then they can get an overall idea about you from your current GPA. So it is actually beneficial for you. Without attaching your results, I think then they don't have any idea. So I think attaching all the necessary documents and providing the evidence that you have enough qualification, I think it's good. Is it okay?
Yeah. I got it.
Okay.
And on the other hand, like just one more, the final question, like so it's when like writing the email, so can we like bold certain important points along the email body? So it's like I mean, if it's a special thing, if it's really related to his research, and if it's let's say I'm writing my interest is in this environmental engineering or like engineering, and even if professors interest is in that field, so is it advisable to bold it, like highlight those points, highlight the important points?
Yes. Some people who send me their first email, they have done it, but actually I didn't do that. But it's okay because you can highlight and bold them. But the important thing is the content, as I felt. The first impression from first paragraph, it's very good because some people prefer to start their email with your personal introduction. But in with my experience, I think it would be better if you start directly with your interests. Then you can do your introduction at the middle of your email. So you can start, it's not mandatory, but it's just my suggestion. You can just start your email with why you like that professor and what you read, like some few papers you can mention. These are the papers. Even I received some email from another science graduate. That girl mentioned that these are the, she has properly read about that paper, and she mentioned few things about what she actually liked from his publication. But sometimes it may be time consuming, so you can just mention, as you told, the areas, and you can also add few things from the professor's work.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Got it.
Chamaditha, you can come again. Chamaditha?
Yeah, thank you, sir. So another question I have is like whether is it so what you according to like your experience and like considering the other members of your batch who might have gone for postgraduates, like do you suggest applying with the semester up to like semester 7 result sheets, or like wait for the semester 8 to be over and get the overall transcript and apply?
Yes, you can do it, but usually universities are asking your transcript, but you can ask for that extension. So as I heard Viduruminaya, he also, as I remember, he applied during before his graduation, before the semester 8. So you can do it, but you have to clarify it with the admin office whether they allow it. Usually in that case they allow it, because in my NTU experience also, I didn't have enough time to do GRE before the application deadline, because GRE was not needed for my other applications. Then my professor and their manager told that, okay, no worries, you can apply. After that, you can do GRE and you can submit your GRE score. So like that, usually they are giving you extensions. Even for a transcript, they will give you an extension and you can apply with your semester 7 examination results. But I think sometimes they will ask that letter from examination to confirm your results.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, we can allow one more questions, and I think it's so if students are not asking, I have one question. I will ask that, but better to give students a chance.
And this is my WhatsApp number. If you have any questions, you can ask me. I'm glad to help anytime.
Yeah, and then also you can ask questions on dcp.me because
Yes. Yes, sir.
Malsha is an active member, active resource person there. So, so you can ask on that too. Yeah, since students are not taking this opportunity, I will ask another question. Yeah, I really appreciate your presentation because you did not only focus on telling the students about application process and studies, because yeah, studies and knowledge and experience, those are also important, but the other important thing is opportunities and future opportunities, and the especially PAR and especially the career opportunities, and really appreciate you mentioned this. Because I'm not going to discriminate countries, but if you go to some certain countries, you will have to work like a workhorse, and like, I mean, you get a stipend, and for a stipend you have to work.
Yes.
And that work and your PhD work is different. So I really want to encourage students not to apply for those kind of countries. Actually, if I name the countries, US. If you go to US, you have to do additional work in order to get that money, stipend. But if you get a really good scholarship, it will not be there. But mostly that is the case. But in Singapore, what is the situation like? Do you have to work other work?
Yes, sir, because we are under this the university scholarship given by the university and the Ministry of Education. International students should complete some amount of hours. They are actually teaching hours, so we are like a teaching assistant.
Teaching hours is okay because
Yes,
for a PhD, you are doing PhD because
yes,
you want
it's
to.
a good experience.
Yeah, you won't mainly
Yes.
need to come to the academia, no? That's
Yes.
why the
Actually, it's teaching duties and examination duties, and also some other work like supervising FIP students, undergraduate, high school students for their research. So that experience, actually, I like it.
Yeah,
so even though I have to work.
Yeah. And other thing is, you mentioned about the no, I didn't. I'm not remember. You mentioned that the PR option is also important, no?
Yes, sir.
for the people,
yes.
Because in order to find out future careers,
Yes.
what's about in Singapore? Like, can you get a job?
Actually, sir, yes. Actually, my initial plans were with Canada, but I think COVID situation changed me a lot. So at one time, I had both options, Canadian and Singapore. But at that time, I only considered about the education. But getting a PR in Singapore for a PhD student, it's not an impossible thing. Recently, also, I know one sister she's from Pera University, and she did her PhD and postdoc in NTU. She got her PR. So it is achievable, but not many people are staying here. Even Isharaka, she went to Sweden to do her postdoc, and some DCP students came back again to our university and settle in Sri Lanka. So in most cases, people are not staying here. They are migrating, but you can get a job and you can also work here, because since NTU and NUS are reputed university in Singapore, you may have chances here. But for the moment, I'm also not going to stay here. My plan was to come to Sri Lanka if things get better. But if I don't get that opportunity in Sri Lanka, so then I will move to another country to do my postdoc or to do a job. So for an NTO graduate, you can have any opportunity in the world. So it's not going to end if you come to do your PhD in NTU. It's not going to be the end. You can have many options.
Yeah, actually, I really appreciate that your mind that you are planning to come back. Actually, it should be like that. So that is the message we have to give as a state university lecturers, and also you are a product of state university. So that's the message we have to give to our students. But having that option is that mean it is good, no? Because
yes, sir.
yeah,
Yes, sir.
so,
That's why even though even from the beginning, I had that hope to come to Sri Lanka and
yeah.
to be a lecturer. But even though that is the case, I considered Canada as a best option to get a PR and to get that option, even though I'm not going to settle. So in that case, I think it is better to consider other country like Europe is also a good option because you can have a PG, what is that called? After your PG studies, you can get visa for your working. So like in Canada also, after if you get some MSc or PhD, then they will provide some few hours to work there. In that time, you can apply for PR. Usually the people are doing like that. So
what we have to give our student the message is like, you need to contribute to the country. That is must. Actually, I'm really proud that you have that dream in your mind, and that should be for the everyone in the participating, and also the few people who will watch this link on when I shared it later. So but becoming a global citizen also should be in our agenda, no? Because it will give us opportunities. As example, if you have a Sri Lankan passport, when we're applying for a conference and for a meetings, like it's a really big problem. But if you have PR, like if you have that even you are a dual citizen or a PR holder, so it's really easy for you, and you can be a global citizen, no? So that must be with you, but definitely throughout your whole life you should contribute to this country, no? To Sri Lanka. You can do it in many ways, and also you can work here, and for the sabbatical you can go to Canada, and for leave you can take leave, paid leave, no pay leave, and so there are so many options, no? So be a global citizen is we should encourage people to be like that without forgetting your origins. Okay. And thank you very much for your wonderful presentation, and I'll may I share it later on DCPE?
Yes, sir, sure. No
thank
worries.
you very much. So once again, I wish you all the best to complete your PhD with colors, and keep our flag high there. So because we have many students in your organization, no? In NTU. So I'm sure like you will be a memorable student there for professors and also other academics. Okay, Malsha, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for inviting me, and thank you all the students for attending this session.
Yeah, I hope like people will keep asking questions on dcp.me or the WhatsApp.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Good night.
Okay.